When you think of 21st century mystery films, what do you think of? Memento, Gone Girl, maybe even Shutter Island. I mean, thrillers do often set the stage really well for a mystery. And obviously these films are great mysteries because the plots themselves are written as great mysteries. But it would be pretty imprudent if we didn't acknowledge the fact that the cinematography in these films contribute a great deal to creating suspense. Well, what if you took all that away? Do you think a film could manage to be an engaging mystery as a realist film, without any gimmicks? Asghar Farhadi does just that in his 2011 film, A Separation. It features handheld documentary-style camera work, an absence of effects and music, stationary long takes, a dull color palette. All of these things are fairly standard for typical realist films. But it's relatively rare for this type of cinema to tackle a storyline of mystery. Which makes sense because mysteries heavily rely on building suspense, and the whole point of realism is to mimic real life and strip away any artificial drama. However, A Separation does something pretty incredible. It uses the mode of realism as an aid to cover up the answers to questions that come up throughout the film. Here's what I mean. Do you remember how Nader accused Razia of stealing money from his drawer? She denies it again and again, but the accusation resurfaces throughout the rest of the film, and the culprit doesn't really get firmly established. You expect that the truth about where the money went will eventually be revealed at some point, but before you know it, the end credits begin rolling and you still have no idea who took the money. When I finished watching the film, I thought it must have been something only I was wondering about, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention in the midst of all the arguments in the second half. But turns out it's one of the most frequently asked questions on the movie's IMDb page. So what's the answer? Believe it or not, it's in the first 10 minutes of the film. Samin needs to pay the movers, so she pulls money out of the drawer in her bedroom without telling her husband Nader. But the average viewer won't remember this shot later on because it's treated as nothing special. This ingenious realist technique is used frequently in the film. The storyline provokes you to have so many questions, and the magic of realism blends all the answers into subtlety. The subtlety is especially potent in this example because the drawer the money is taken out of isn't even visible in the frame. When the mystery of the case gets tangled up more and more as the film progresses, a lot of questions came into my mind. Did we ever see Nader actually shove Razia? Was there a time when Razia's pregnancy was made obvious in front of Nader? How did Razia get the grandpa back in the house when he left? Time and time again, I naturally found myself wanting to rewind and find these answers, but I knew I couldn't because that would ruin the integrity of my watching experience. There's obviously so much to study in both the script and cinematography for this film, but the key takeaway is that the so-called slow-moving style of realist films has the powerful ability to make a viewer miss the answers even when it's right in front of them. It's a technique that perhaps isn't too useful in standard narrative dramas, but its effect is profound in the context of a mystery. This component of such a skillfully written script is surely one of the reasons why it's one of the few non-English films to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. The engaging qualities of this mystery doesn't come from flashy zoom-ups that hint at important facts, or artificially dramatic moments, or non-linear storylines. It comes naturally from the story's intrigue with characters that are so relatable in so many regards. One of the most memorable scenes occurs toward the end of the film. It's a long stationary take that lasts about 20 seconds shy of 3 minutes. The stakes skyrocket as the suspense naturally increases from one character in the frame to 2 characters, and finally 3. We know that Razia isn't going to swear about the cause of the miscarriage, but how is her husband going to react? If it were Christopher Nolan or David Fincher directing, maybe we'd switch to a more direct angle of him and move the camera closer. Farhadi says no. Instead of trying to artificially paint the intensity of her husband's emotions, we let the emotions pour onto the screen without doing anything with the camera. That's the beauty of realism. And it's the same way the aspect of mystery is approached. Jean Renoir said in Rules of the Game, "The awful thing about life is this. Everybody has their reasons." Farhadi taps into that sentiment in a beautiful fashion in A Separation. And in doing so, he forms a dramatic mystery where the answers to crucial questions are shrouded in foggy memories and obscured perspectives. The result is a mess of less than ideal situations for everyone. The more I think about it, that's often how things tend to play out in real life.